Hey, it's a great day. This is Mike Current, Energizer, and in this video I'm going to be peeling back the truth behind 4 thru-hiking truisms. So let's do this. A truism is a common saying that people believe to be obviously true. So in this video, I'm going to peel back and look at 4 thru-hiking truisms. The first one being hike your own hike, short in the acronym HYOH. Now at face value, hike your own hike is a great concept. It is just exactly what it says. Hike as many miles as you want in a day. Hike as few miles as you want. Carry what you want, as little as you want, as much as you want. Hike with who you want or hike alone. Stop when you want, stop where you want. It is hike your own hike. Do your thing when you are on the trail. It's an incredible concept, and I believe in it. I do. If you watch any of my videos, you know I never tell anyone, you should do this. I say, this is what I'm doing, and if you find something that I'm doing of value and you can incorporate into your own hike, well, that's great. But if you don't, then don't do that. But what's interesting about the hike your own hike saying is so many people say it and so few people actually believe it. Now, I know I hike a certain way while I'm hiking on the trail. It's uncommon for most. It's certainly common on the trail. There are plenty of people that hike the way I do while on the trail. They may not make videos about it, but there are plenty of people that hike on the trail the way I do. But in my videos, I don't think I ever give the impression that I don't know what I'm doing. So I find it interesting on how much unsolicited criticism I get on my hiking. So I can't imagine somebody that is just starting out as a thru hiker, maybe new to backpacking, and they don't know, they're a little unsure themselves, and they must be just absolutely bombarded with criticism and unsolicited advice. And so what I'm saying is just expect that. If you're new to thru hiking and you hear the saying hike your own hike, well, kind of expect the opposite. People are going to want you to hike their hike. In fact, it is so common that people, instead of wanting you to hike your own hike, they want you to hike their hike, that Paul Maggs wrote a humorous article on the topic, and the article is called Hike My Hike, Damn It. And he goes through and just in a humorous way makes fun of the whole concept of hike your own hike, simply because so few people actually believe it. So if you're watching this and you're going to be a new thru hiker, just expect that that's going to happen while you're on trail and even before you get on trail. The first place you're going to find criticism is in these social media forums. People that have previously hiked and they have a skewed vision of what their hike once was, or people that they're keyboard hikers. They watch videos and they search on the internet. And they've never actually hiked the trail, but in their mind, through all their research, they've created the ideal hike in their mind, and that is how you'll be judged. So the next area will find unsolicited advice and criticism about your thru hike is from family and friends. And unlike where you'll find trolls in the social media forum, your family is just well-intentioned. They want the best for you. They just don't know what a thru hike is. And so how to deal with that is just through patience and education. Show them what you're doing. Show them how a thru hike works. Try to educate them on how a person thru hikes. and then they'll have a better understanding of what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. The next place where you'll see some unsolicited advice is when you're getting onto the trail, other through hikers. And again, this is from the newness of being on the trail, and they're new to it. And they're just trying to figure out where they're at and where you at in relation to them. It's kind of like being a freshman in college. And you know, most people are just incredibly supportive, but just expect a little bit from some kind of a passive aggressive type of competition. You know, that's why on the Pacific Crest Trail I would not tell people when my start date was, because that becomes an area where people can go, well, you started then, I started here, this is how fast you're going. It just becomes a competition. And then on the Appalachian Trail, you'll never see that tag on my rucksack, again, because you know how the numbers go up. Starting on 1 January, the numbers go up for who's getting on the trail. Starting at Amicalola Falls State Park, you know, it starts at number 1 on January 1st, and I think now they're up to number 2,700. So if someone looks at your tag and it's a much higher number, a much lower number, they kind of see where you fit into where you started, and that's why you won't see the tag on my rucksack. That kind of judgment typically ends on the Pacific Crest Trail by Canyon Meadows South, the end of the desert phase, mile marker about 700. And from what I understand, from what I've done the research on, around Damascus on the Appalachian Trail, mile marker 470, typically by Canyon Meadows South and Damascus, kind of all the wannabes are off the trail, and you know, the judgment's pretty much ended from other hikers. Whatever you're doing, obviously it's working, you made it that far, and your chances of continuing on and making the rest of the way are far greater than the ones that fell off before that. And so that kind of ends it with the judgment from other through hikers. But the judgment doesn't end there. Section hikers, when you encounter section hikers, you can expect a little bit of judgment that goes with that. Jennifer Farr Davis talks about that in her book Becoming Odessa. She arrived at a hut, and the section hiker couple looked at her and looked at her equipment and just told her, hey, you're never going to make it to Maine. I mean, how would you like, you know, your 15 minutes of fame in the through hiking community is you told Jennifer Farr Davis she's never going to make it to Maine. So just expect that when you're on the trail, and it can come from other areas, town folks, or day hikers, but just you know, let it pass over and hike your own hike. So although the hike your own hike concept is an incredible concept, something I truly believe in, just expect a lot of people not to buy into it, and they want you to hike their hike. So typically when you see the acronym hike your own hike, it's not a source of encouragement. It is a way to end a conversation that is a judgmental conversation. When you see hike your own hike, somebody is politely or tactfully trying to tell someone to mind their own business. Actually, if you read Paul Mack's article, he describes it differently of what they're saying, but I like to keep this video rated PG. So the next truism is don't quit on a bad day. And it's an incredibly well-meaning, you know, truism. People don't want you to quit, and you know, so you're going to have a bad day. Don't quit on the bad day. The issue with don't quit on a bad day is typically people have quit mentally before that time happens. And so while don't quit on a bad day is well-intentioned, well-meaning, the advice is just a little too late. David Goggins, in his book Can't Hurt Me, he discusses this concept and he does it in regards to Navy SEAL training or BUDS. And in BUDS, the candidate or student actually needs to get up and ring a bell, declaring to the instructors, declaring to his fellow students, and psychologically declaring to himself that he is quit. But in Goggins's book, he says that people that are going through BUDS typically in their heads quit hours, maybe even days before they ring the bell. And that interim period is just a time for them to rationalize or accept a decision that they've already made. And so now they're going through and something bad happens, and they just act upon, with the ringing of the bell, they are acting upon a decision that they've already made hours or days prior. And I think the same thing happens in through hiking. People decide to quit. It's in their head. They're trying to rationalize that is the decision they're going to make. And then something happens on a bad day. They have an experience, and then they just simply act upon a decision they've already made. So the way to overcome that is, instead of waiting until the bad day, constantly evaluate those doubts and fears that you might have in your head if you're through hiking, and suppress those, overcome those, deal with those, and so they don't accumulate to where you have made the decision and you're rationalizing, your subconscious is rationalizing already that, yep, I'm quitting, I just need some kind of external event to exercise that decision. The next thru-hiking truism we're going to take a look at is, it's all mental. It's all mental. And so many people say that when they're talking about a thru hike. Don't worry about it. It's all mental. And I think a lot of people that say that don't know all that goes behind it. And so if you're not familiar with that, it can be deceptive. Look, a through hike is not like solving algebraic problems. You know, hey, I've got to get through, and I've got 100 problems I've got to do, and in geometry and algebra and all that kind of stuff, and what would, I mean, it's not that kind of mental exercise. A through hike essentially is all physical. It really is. Look at it. The first layer of a through hike, you have to walk a trail on the Appalachian Trail, 2,200 miles, on the Pacific Crest Trail, 2,650 miles. You've got to walk that, and you've got to do it with a rucksack on your back that kind of weighs a little bit. So that's physical. Peel that layer back, and you've got to camp outside. You know, you got to put your tent up, and you have to sleep outside in the hot or the cold where there's bugs, and could be snow or rain or mud, and all that. That is physical. Peel that layer away, and you've got to cook outside and eat outside, and all those things, and go to the bathroom outside. All those things, that's physical. Peel that layer away, and just generating heat. If it's cold outside, or it's hot, but if it's cold outside, I mean, if you're at your house, what do? You turn on the thermostat, right? You just turn on the thermostat. Well, when you're on a through hike, your body heat serves as your thermostat. And so even the act of creating heat to keep you warm is a physical endeavor. So you got 4 or 5 layers where a through hike is absolutely physical. And with all that physical hardship, comes a level of pain. There is pain that goes with that. And it's constant. In Barney Mann's book, Journeys North, Barney Scoutman from Scout and Frodo, Pacific Crest Trail, Trail Angels, and Barney's a Triple Crowner, and he also served as the chairman of the Pacific Crest Trail Association. in his book, Journeys North, he describes that constant pain that one feels while they are on a thru hike. And he says sometimes it's just kind of a dull white noise in the background, and sometimes it's just excruciating. One of the characters he brings up in his book, a trail named Switch, is asked at one point, and she had hiked the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail. She's asked at one point by an aspiring thru hiker, hey, when does the hurting stop? And her immediate response was 3 months. And so the aspiring thru hiker seemed to be satisfied with that answer, and he's calculating in his head, all right, this is where I'm going to be in my thru hike in 3 months. And then she finishes the statement by saying, 3 months after you return home from your thru hike, that's when the pain stops. So when people talk about it's all mental, what they're really saying is that physical pain, that physical hardship is never going to end. And so how you get through that becomes a mental game. The only problem is that all that physical hardship actually makes it harder for a person to make mental decisions. When I used to participate in marathons, I would write down my split times and laminate it on a piece of paper or tape it to one of my energy bottles, because by my time I hit mile 15, 16, 17, just simple math, simple addition was too difficult. And so I needed something there to help me make those mental decisions. And that's the same reason I put together a cheat sheet that I talked about on one of my other videos. I put together a cheat sheet, a decision matrix for my thru hike. So when I reach a certain point, I can look at it, and all that hard thinking I've already put into that. And that way, if I'm not feeling up to it, at least I've got something to refer to that helps me through that mental decision process while I'm on a long trail. That's why a thru hike is so mental, because it is so physical, and that physical hardship doesn't end. Now, the last thru-hiking truism that we'll look at is there is nothing you can do to physically prepare for a thru hike. You know, I just watched a video from a very popular vlogger, and in their video they said that very same thing. There's nothing you can do to physically prepare for a thru hike. And I was so disheartened by that, because to me, most truisms, they're at least well-intentioned, but I can't think of a truism in thru hiking that could potentially cause more harm than telling an aspiring thru hiker that there is nothing they can do to physically prepare for a thru hike. I just can't think of anything that's more potentially damaging. First off, I can't think of anything, any human endeavor, that if my children were to come to me and say, hey Dad, what do you think? That I would tell them there is no way you can prepare for that. There's nothing you can do to prepare for that. I can't think of a single thing where that would be the advice I would give them. And then you look at a physical activity like a thru hike, which for some people is the most strenuous thing they will ever do in their life, and to tell them, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do physically. Now, maybe you cannot replicate, wherever you're living, you cannot replicate the conditions on a trail. I get that. I get that. But you can do something to physically prepare yourself, so you arrive at the trail in better condition than what you were when you first made the announcement that, hey, I'm going to be hiking a long trail. You can arrive at the trail in better condition. If you read any of the surveys, like from Halfway Anywhere, you read the surveys, one of the leading comments by through hikers that have completed trails is the comment when they write in and say, boy, I wish I would have prepared more, physically prepared more for that through hike. So the information is there. In addition to making you better physically prepared for the daily challenges, it also makes it easier to make mental decisions if you are in better shape. The United States military figured out this long ago. That's why the military requires individuals that are serving to be in good physical condition, good physical health. Yes, you know, you have to be able to jump over the walls and, you know, go through buildings and that sort of thing to do the job, shoot, move, and communicate. But it is also, if a person is in better physical condition, their body is better able to absorb stress, handle the physical challenge, and then be able to make better mental decisions if they're in better physical condition. And therefore, on a through hike, maybe they won't make the decision to get off the trail prematurely. They'll be able to physically handle that stress and continue on with their through hike. So as you have seen in my previous videos, I am a strong believer in physically getting ready for a through hike because it not only prepares you obviously physically to overcome the challenges, but it makes you better mentally prepared for the through hike. So those are the 4 through hiking truisms we've peeled back, and I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm still getting ready to go on the trail. I'm down in Coronado right now, and my wife and I have been spending the last 3 months in Southern California because it's warm, but we'll be heading back to the house come Saturday, and the day we arrive it's supposed to be snowing at the house, so that'll be fun. But I'm still getting ready to go on the trail, still training for it. I'll be getting on the trail on 1 May. That's the right day for me. And if you're enjoying my videos, please like and subscribe, and we'll continue to take this journey together. It's going to be great.